Go T-Wolves.
Lunch Money Lambert, Jeff Malott. Welcome to the Kayak Nation. Yeah. Welcome to the Kayak Nation. Kayak Nation. Hey. Welcome to the Kayak Nation. Welcome to the Kayak Nation. Welcome to the Kayak Nation, where we talk about fishing and competition. It's your boy Ox Pippin, aka Ox Fishing. Don't come over here tripping. Hey, hope you enjoy the show. Jeff Malott, Lunch Money Lambert, Lego. Hey, welcome to the Kayak Nation. Kayak Nation. Yeah, welcome to the Kayak Nation. Kayak Nation. Hey, welcome to the Kayak Nation. Welcome to the.
All right, what's up, everybody? Welcome to KBN Live. What's up, Brian?
Just glad to see you, pal.
You know it.
Another day in the life.
I'm here. Another day living. Welcome to Wednesday night. I know last week we said we're going to start going live on midweek, more midweek. Ryan's running the roads up with his daughter. I saw they won. They win this weekend. I see that. Correct.
They won district, their district tournament last night. So school ball is done. She'll be a high schooler next time I get to see her.
How about that? So good for her. But yeah, Ryan's living that dad life and work, and I got crazy work stuff. So midweek's going to be better. So here we are on Wednesday, right?
And I mean, you know, we got really Bassmaster's a big national trail to cover. So I think we get to be a little more picky. What do you think?
Yeah, but for sure. And it gives the folks that finish high or win these events time to actually get home instead of trying to respond to our messages late Sunday night or Monday.
Or in Prince Edwin's case, get in another tournament and come at us live from a hotel room.
Yes, if you're sliding on with us this new night, wherever you're at, YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, X, whatever, we appreciate you. Spread the word. Help us by reposting, sharing, liking, and leaving a comment. That helps us out a lot over there. So yeah, we're gonna get into it tonight. We've got Ewing Minor and Seth Taylor, the top two from Dale Hollow, which was a absolute shootout.
Yeah, it looked like a really good time, you know, to be up there. We've talked about it before. We fished it in the Tennessee Bass Nation like in the dead of winter when it was cold and miserable. So this looks like a much more appropriately timed tournament. And if you look at the recordings, it seemed like that was the right call there. Even saw an old name, old AJ McWhirter pop up in there.
Man, I wanted to bring that up. I got a charge out of seeing that. They made a day 2 charge himself and got up there in the top 10 or 11 by the time it was over. And I mean, that qualifies him for the championship. So watch out, man. One of the GOATs is back.
He's back. Be on Chickamauga, be in his backyard on that championship.
That's right. And you know what I thought was perfect about him kind of making his national re-entrance on Dale Hollow is inevitably when you're a tournament director and you fish a tournament, especially a high-profile TD like AJ was or is, you always get that question like, well, hell yeah, he did good on Fork. He's got all the waypoints over there.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? There's never been a national tournament on Dale Hollow. BOS has never been there. Bassmaster's never been there till now. So no haters for that.
Yep. I didn't hear of any crazy scandals or anything come out of this one. So good job. Good job, Steve-O and the boys.
I heard of one possible one.
Did you? Never mind. Scratch that. Strike that.
Well, I never saw it publicly go around, but Steve-O sent me a message about one. Did you not hear about that?
I did get that one.
The beer can in the net.
Yeah.
No, that's pretty funny stuff.
I don't think that was too scandalous.
No, that's just, if someone said something about that, you need to seek help.
And I also think we should, as kayak anglers having to fish out of a little plastic boat, you should be able to have a beer too if you need to.
That's right. That's right. That's right. That's hilarious.
At least make it fun.
Yeah. But no, cool to see AJ fishing, man. I hope he continues on doing that.
I hope he wrecks him on Chickamauga for 2 days or 3 days, depending on the format.
I did not follow up to see what he fished out of. Did he fish out of like the old school 17 rigged out or what?
I don't know. I didn't look and see either. We may have to go through his pics later and figure out what he was in so we can pinpoint his vessel of choice.
Yeah. So y'all watch out, man. AJ's back. My man can catch him. Original top 3 ranked in the KBN rankings years ago. We got some comments coming in. I know, top shelf. He did. He picked it up to keep trash out of the environment. That's exactly right.
Yep.
For those who don't know, there was an angler that had a beer can in his picture, was literally just picking up trash in the freaking water, trying to help out. There's video of it. It was no big deal. Good on you. Pick up the trash.
Yep. I'm going to go pick up some trash beers later myself.
That's right. That's right. But yeah, what else is going on? Anything else out there?
Kayvon, baby.
Yeah.
So listen to this, Jeff. So the volleyball tournament was in Sevierville, Tennessee, which is Kayvon's area of business. And I go out to this establishment Saturday night and meet these two young gentlemen, and they're talking about their general manager that kayak fishes. And I was like, really? I was like, what's his name? They're like, Kevin Hawkins. I was like, wait a minute. I was like, Kayvon is your manager? So I sent him a selfie with those guys. He's like, they better not be late for work tomorrow, Lambert. And I was like, oh, yeah. Sorry about that.
That's hilarious. Kayvon. I like that he's got that name because of my inability to pronounce people's names correctly.
Yeah, you're great, man.
Yeah. Hey, Nico can suck it. Speaking of the Tennessee's quarterback, his brother took a bag of NIL money and transferred to UCLA as well, and now we are suing him. So Arkansas is
I like it.
To stop that nonsense.
Bankrupt the family. He probably didn't have to pay taxes on it in Arkansas. He get to Cali and they're hitting about 65%.
That's right. That's right. So yeah, good precedent from the boys in Arkansas. So anything else to speak of? I know this weekend coming up, the All-American Classic, we'll try to snag the winner of that next week. That big Midwest championship is going on coming up. I saw some people leaving this week.
Where's it at? Is it Lake of the Ozarks?
No, it's on the lake above it. Same
Okay.
chain, but it's Truman. Basically,
gotcha.
Lake Fork of the Midwest. It's so full of trees.
Really?
Just because of the amount of trees. It's unbelievable how many trees.
I thought you meant the fish. I was like, wow, I feel like I should have earmarked that.
No, it's good fishing, but not, it's not like that. It's not like that.
Gotcha.
But yeah, so we'll try to get those folks on next week. But with that said, how about we get the boys in here, the top two?
Let's do it.
Seth Ewing, welcome.
Thanks for having me.
Yes.
Seth, this is your first time on, so this is going to be your first experience with us. Ewing's been on about 38 times.
Yeah, I'm not as seasoned. I'm not as seasoned as Ewing is.
I don't know. Your wall looks pretty seasoned back there. We should have had you on before. It looks like.
Yeah. There's a couple back there. But good thing Ewing's in a hotel room. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, no shit. His stuff wouldn't fit in there. He's got a barn with all his trophies in him now.
Yeah. And if you're watching on Seth, I see Seth, you chose to stream this over to your YouTube channel, SoFlo Taylor over on YouTube. Appreciate you doing that. So if you're watching there, we appreciate you watching over there as well, y'all. So yeah, good stuff. Dale Hollow shootout, man. I've looked on day one. The 100th place person had 80 inches. So I don't think I've ever seen that before, that deep down. Maybe that one of the Caddo championships may have had that one year, but that's unbelievable fishing. So, before we get into the details of day 1 and 2, just tell us what the lake was fishing like. Obviously it was hot.
Well, it was the water was a little bit above full pool, so there was a lot of bushes and brush flooded. A lot of largemouth up shallow, mainly males, garden fry, still spawning. There were smallmouth on bed, smallmouth and largemouth offshore. It was really one of those pick your poison type events.
I know what poison you have not picked, Ewing, and that is sunscreen. You are you've been working hard.
I ran out the other day. I was spraying the sunscreen and it just came to a halt. And,
just a trickle.
yeah, and there's nothing around.
Oh.
So.
And you said you guys were saying before the show, Big Bass was caught on a frog.
Mm-hmm.
Probably wouldn't have picked that one for Del Hollow, but
Yeah.
Seth, is this do you venture north much to fish, or is this your biggest adventure up on that Tennessee-Kentucky line?
Yeah, so I grew up in Pennsylvania. I actually grew up on the Susquehanna River.
Heard of it? Yeah, I've heard of that.
But then I went to West Virginia, and Ewing probably doesn't know this, but you have a brother, right, Nolan?
Got a couple.
So at West Virginia, I was one of the first. So I'm 35. So bass fishing in college kind of started right at the tail end of my college experience. So I was one of the first bass fishing club. It was a club members back in the day at West Virginia. And I think I only got like 1 or 2 events in back then. It was not like what it is now.
A lot
That's for
different.
sure. But I used to, after I graduated, I remember Nolan made it to like the championship. And I knew he was a West Virginia fisherman. So I used to root him on. But anyway, yeah, I grew up on the Susquehanna. So I fished a bunch of smallmouth and river systems up there. And I traveled throughout the country as an environmental inspector for oil and gas. So I had a boat and I fished all kinds of water throughout the country, all of Texas and everywhere from pretty much Texas to the Northeast and Southeast. So I got a lot of experience on different water. And then about 5 years ago, moved to Florida. So I've been down here since. So as far as the national events, I have 3 little girls. I have an 8, 7, and 4-year-old. So up until last year, it's kind of been fishing. Haven't been able to travel as much. Now they're getting a little bit older, get a little bit more freedom. You can run around and do a little bit more fishing. So,
well, at least you didn't. It's not just a random Florida guy that stumbled up in a squatted truck and cashed a check on Del Hollows.
Yeah, I guess.
Do you have a Salt Life sticker anywhere on your vehicle? Or
nah, I got a tattoo though. No, I'm just kidding.
on the small of my back.
No Salt Life. No, I'm a freshwater life. I really don't even do much saltwater fishing at all. Like there's too many world-class bass fisheries down here for me to go out there and catch those.
Ewing, you've been on kind of a hiatus from the majority of the kayak events. Like you used to. I feel like every time we turned around, you were cashing a check in something, but you're growing up now and, it's been fun to watch, but what made you jump in this one?
It was 2 hours from the house. I like Dale Hollow. It kind of suits my style. It'd be kind of dumb to not go there. So
Seth, if you want to go back and watch any of Ewing's previous interviews, they sound a lot like this. You got to catch 2 fish to get to 5, man.
I'm pretty sure you taught me that one.
I did late night. I feel like.
Man, that's awesome. What's up, Diggs? Top Shelf. Got some folks jumping in the YouTube stream. We appreciate y'all. I really appreciate the regulars, Ryan. We always have, it rides up and down about who's on the stream, but you can always count on a handful of these guys that are in here every time we go live. So we appreciate y'all. Diggs, Top Shelf, and the rest of you. We appreciate y'all. So yeah, I've got the leaderboard pulled up here. Before we get into day 1 and 2, just tell us how long did you get there did you pre-fish at all, Ewing?
Yeah, I fished for 3 days.
Okay, Seth, what about you, man?
Yeah, Wednesday, Thursday. I took Friday off.
So what'd you find in practice?
I felt like I had a good.
No, I was gonna say, what'd you think you found in practice there, Seth, when you got up there and fished for a few days?
Yeah, so they really, I only went one spot in the entire practice. It was the first spot I went to. I went back in like a creek, a pocket kind of deal, and like Ewing was saying, there was fish everywhere. It seemed like the fish that were shallow were a little bit smaller on average, and I found beds in like 10 feet of water back in these deep pockets, and they were largemouth bedding in 10 feet of water, and I was like, dude, this is crazy. And then at 10 feet, it's kind of difficult to tell the exact size. I know they look pretty good, so I cast down and I caught a 22.5 in practice, largemouth, and I was like, oh man. And then they were scattered around. There was a ton of them. So then I just worked my way out into the main lake and went to some like humps out there on the main lake where smallmouth might be spawning, and they were spawning all around there. And there's, hundreds of beds. So I started marking them, and then day 2, that's all I did. Day 2 is mark as many largemouth beds as I could back in these creeks, and it had like 120 points. Smallmouth, I ended up stop marking them just because there were so many. It's kind of pointless to even mark them. And then it was supposed to rain on day 3. I was super tired from the drive, and I'm like, I better just get some sleep. So I slept in on Friday, and a storm rolled in the afternoon, so I didn't even practice on Friday. But I felt really good about practice. Felt like I was on some above average fish, and I knew it was going to be a shootout. So I didn't know how good it was, but I knew it was pretty solid. So yeah.
What about you, Ewing? What'd you come up with in your practice?
First day I got up there and I caught a 20 3/4, about 50 yards off the boat ramp. I was just going along and it blew up, and I threw over there and caught it. It was a long, skinny post-spawn smallmouth. So I just kind of started looking deep before I even looked shallow because of what that fish did. And obviously the size of it. And I didn't even know that there were largemouth on every inch of the bank until later that day, after I had, I don't know, high 90s of smallmouth in 3 or 4 hours on the first day of practice. It's like every fish you threw at would bite it. And then went up shallow. There were largemouth everywhere, but they were a lot of 16, 17 inchers and hard to get the bigger ones. Day 2, went to a different area. Still caught some decent fish, but I wasn't seeing the size. Kind of went back there on Friday, and that's when I found what ended up being the winning spot. I didn't think it was any better than any of the other stuff. There were quite a few fish there, but you see a school of 15 fish on a point on Dale Hollow, they're just as likely to be on the next point the next day. So I didn't think much of it, but that ended up being a lot better than expected.
How did tournament day start off for you, Seth, on day 1?
Yeah, so in practice, I marked a couple above average bass, which I knew were probably over 20 inches, probably like the 22-ish range. One was a giant, like a really good one. And I cast it on Thursday, and it chased after my bait right away on a bed. So I went there first. On Saturday morning, it was gone. I'm like, of course. So I really just fished. Yeah, there's a smallmouth. I really just fished largemouth beds in the deep pockets, like 10-foot pockets, and ended up catching some smallmouth in there too. Yeah, there's the biggest one. I spent an hour on that one on day 1. I knew it was a good one on a bed. That was in 10 feet of water on the Nico rig. So that's really all I did. I mean, I just bounced around to pretty much all my largemouth beds that I had in the back. I was going to save the main lake smallmouth stuff for day 2, and it worked out pretty well. Unfortunately, though, I had to run through most of my largemouth spots, so I didn't really have a whole lot of largemouth. I had one that I could not catch, which was a big one, and I saved him for day 2, and that's where I started day 2. But I was mostly hitting my largemouth spots on day 1, and then I was just going to go out to the main lake on day 2 and just lay into the smallmouth.
Yeah, I was going to ask about your mixed bag. Ewing's got what I think are all smallmouth on that day 1 mixed bag. We'll talk about that in a minute. But you had that mixed bag, and I wondered if that was on purpose. But it sounds like the smallies just kind of showed up.
Yeah, so they were. Yeah, I had a couple largemouth beds in like 6 feet of water and a point way back in a pocket, and I thought they were largemouth. They ended up being smallmouth. There's a bunch of them right there. So it's just like this little group of good sized smallmouth right on this little point in this far pocket. I thought they were largemouth. They ended up being smallmouth when I caught them. So yeah, it worked out. It worked out. Day 1, I was up there. I felt good about it. However, day 2, going into day 2, I wasn't sure how good the size of the smallmouth on the main lake would be, because in practice I jacked a couple and they were like 16, 17 inches, and they were males and they were shooting all over the place. So I'm like, man, hopefully the females move in or they're around there somewhere. So I wasn't sure about day 2, but that's how day 1 went.
What about you, Prince?
I started off, we were running a little late. I guess the central time got to us.
What do you mean? What do you mean by late? Are you talking like you late, or are you talking about me late?
We're talking me late, not
all
me
right.
late. I was walking down the boat ramp at 5:45, which was first cast, and Mark Cesarnos was sitting there waiting on the boat to take him around. Told me that I was late, and I told him I was about to make my first cast, but I caught that. I think it was an 1875 largemouth. Was my first fish that stayed in my limit. I caught 2 little smallmouth, but I caught it off of the boat ramp right after launching there. I was planning on fishing it, and why show up early to wait around?
Yeah, at least your pre-fishing pattern paid off.
Yeah, it did. But after that, I went and I hopped a couple other points. The fish were acting really weird, a lot of pressure in my area, and just decided I'd head towards that one point that I found kind of out away from everything else I had found fish on, but it didn't seem like many people were over there. I got out there, and in 45 minutes, I went from, I think I had 3 fish for 50 inches to 96 3/4. I caught 4 or 5 big smallmouth and left them biting. There was no one fishing offshore in that area, and very few people fishing off shallow or up shallow. So I wasn't too worried about someone fishing for them. The boat tournaments were going to be for largemouth, so they don't really have a reason to be offshore. This was a spot, and it was like 26 to 28 foot of water on a long flat point, and it was about as close to the middle of the lake as you can get. But yeah, I caught those fish and just left it at about, I think it was like 8:45 or something. Went around and practiced. I caught a 19-inch largemouth up a little bit shallower and probably 10 foot, and lost a big one on a glide bait that was, at the end of the day, I was tired of looking at a screen, so I just went up shallow, started throwing a big bait.
I was going to say, I can only assume you were scoping those fish out on the flat point naturally.
Every single fish, all 10 of my fish were on a minnow. So
you didn't try swinging a drop shot at them suspended?
I tried so many other baits, but it was just, that's what they wanted. Even when it got tough, I tried, because I knew I had pinpointed exactly where they were. I didn't know what they were holding on. Honestly, it was just flat, maybe pea gravel or something. Tried dragging a jig through there. Even tried the Ned rig, but they didn't want anything else.
Those weren't real smallmouth if they wouldn't need a Ned rig.
Probably not. I did notice on that place that everywhere else I went, there were a bunch of threadfin balls, a lot smaller bait fish. There were big alewife. I actually had one spitted up, and it was probably a 5.5-inch bait fish. But you could see on the active target that the bait fish, you could pick out the individual dots. It wasn't just a cloud. And I think those bigger smallmouth were keying in on that.
So Seth, we had Ewing on after it was Broken Bow, and the fishing was fun. I mean, it's a good tournament, but the fish were like acting weird, and they were suspended in like 40 or 50 feet of water, like 20 feet down. And Ewing just waxes their ass, and we're all like, how is he catching these fish? He was like, well, I figured out if I just pendulum swing and drop shot through them on live scope. I was like, well, you're pretty safe on that one. I don't think anybody's getting out duplicating that again.
That's right. Yeah. It's unique.
Now, Seth, we didn't ask you scope and play or no?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that's how I found them on beds. Yeah, I wouldn't have known otherwise. And I think most people, especially both of them, largemouth, every fish I caught was on scope. I didn't visual any of them. The water was clear, but it was still stained that you couldn't see down that far. So yeah, I had them marked, but I also could see them on my graph, and I would just go out and drop a Nico rig in there and shake the heck out of it and get the bites. Most of the people that were out in the main lake were kind of just casting and dragging or minnows. I don't know I think they were trying to identify the fish and shaking in front of them, but they weren't dropping stuff on beds. They weren't doing that because there was a lot of people around. And like Ewing said, there was a 200 boat tournament going on as well, but they weren't really out there in the smallmouth. There was a lot of other kayak anglers out there at my smallmouth spot, probably like 10 to 15. But I don't know that they knew that they were bedding. They were most of the anglers were on top of these, like the shallow, like 6-7 feet humps, and I'm down off the edges and targeting the exact bed. So I go to the bed, I drop it in, takes like 2-3 minutes for it to bite, catch it, then just move to the next one, catch it, move to the next one. And it really started getting good. And I ran out of time on Sunday. I was like slowly nickel and diming my way to Ewing. And, yeah, I didn't know if he had called or not. I know we're not in day 2, but with like 2 hours to go on day 2, I had a good largemouth on a bed that I couldn't catch from day 1. So I was either going to go try to catch that, like this 21, 22-inch largemouth, or nickel and dime my way with smallmouths to see if I can catch them. And it was like a 45-minute like paddle with the XI3. So I'm like, you know what? I'm just going to stay on the smallmouth, see if I can nickel and dime to get close. And couldn't do it. I knew I was a half inch short at the end of the day. So like, I was super content with second place. I was very happy with it.
That's not a bad finish in a tournament that size anyway.
Yeah, right.
That's insane. What was the deal? Were you literally like quarter inch at a time, nickel and diming your way up with these smallies?
Yeah, I mean, I caught a ton of 18 inchers I couldn't even use, and there's other anglers around me. I jack an 18. I put it on the board. It's 18, and I just toss it back. And I'm like, what's this guy doing over there? Like, not too many people really know me out there. I put my hood up, and I'm just focused doing my thing. And but yeah, I caught a lot of 18s, 18 and a quarter, and so at the end I needed a 20 incher to tie Ewing, and I knew I had the tiebreaker. So at the time, I didn't know if he had any bigger ones that he was catching once the thing went off, but I hooked into a really good smallmouth and I caught it, but it was pulling drag. I was using 16-pound fluorocarbon on a bait caster. I had spinning reels and everything.
There you go.
But
Finesse them.
no, like they're on beds and they eat anything. Why throw like 8-pound line, right? Like just horse them out of there, get them in the boat, keep moving. So I hooked into a really good one and it pulled drag on my bait caster. And it was the only fish that did this. And I'm like, man, this is the one I need. I only need 20-inch smallmouth. And I'm reeling it in and the sun's just glowing on it as it's swimming sideways. And I'm like, dude, this thing is a giant. This is like a 22-inch smallmouth.
What a dramatic pause.
It was a half inch short.
Oh,
That was to end my day pretty much in like the last 45 minutes. That fish was one of my better ones. But yeah, there was a ton of fish out there. I just went around and hit beds.
Ewing, did you do anything different on day 2, or did you go out and just get it over with in 45 minutes and head back to the house?
I mean, the timing was about the same, but I didn't get to the house. I made a few calls, but most of them were probably in that 7 to 8 o'clock period, or maybe 8 to 9. Can't remember.
What did you do after you had your what you felt like was your winning limit there?
I kept catching 17 and 18 inchers that didn't help.
Yep.
And when did you figure out that there were largemouth all over the bank everywhere? At any point, did you make a move and try to go after one big largemouth bite?
Yeah, I did. About midday, I actually went just to give the fish on that offshore spot a break, and I just went up in a pocket and I threw around a little bit. I had one really big one come out. It chased my glide bait once. I go fish the next pocket, come back, fish that exact little. It was just not quite a trash mat, but a lot of logs and stuff floated up in the back of a creek. Came back, threw back at it again. It followed it out, and then I threw a wacky rig in there. The third time I came back, and I caught like a 17-incher that had me wrapped up in a tree. I thought I had this 21, 22 largemouth, but I did not. Yeah, just I tried to make some calls, but I figured my thought was I could go swinging for a big largemouth, but if I don't fish for these smallmouth and I lose by a quarter inch,
Yeah.
Then you're an idiot.
Yeah, exactly.
so what do y'all think the difference was? I mean, I said it earlier, the 100th place on day 1 had 80 inches. Were too many people locked on just seeing all those 16 to 17s on the bank and just stayed there and couldn't figure out the deep bite? What was the separator? Because everybody was catching them, obviously.
Yeah, I think for me, I think that's what it was. They were just going around hitting laydowns, hitting a bunch of the fish in the banks. And I think there's some good fish there. I saw some decent ones, but on average, there's a ton of males, a ton of like short, stocky, largemouth, just not the long ones that you're looking for to win. Once I went out deeper, I started finding the good, like the better sized fish in like that at least 10 foot of water. But I think it was kind of like fool's gold. There's so many fish everywhere, and there's a lot of fish in the banks, and it was relatively easy to catch that they just went and tried to fill a limit and, nickel and dime from there.
They focus too much on the girth and not enough on the length is what you're saying.
Yeah, maybe that's what it is.
You got to have both, Ryan. Or
It's a kayak tournament, man. You got to know these things.
Yeah. Well, Dale Hollow is just kind of one of those lakes that it's so clear. A lot of your fish never come shallower than 10 or 12 foot, even to spawn. They're
Yeah.
in 10 to 12 foot. And that's a lot of your bigger fish on clearer lakes like that. The big ones just spawn deeper. They're more comfortable out there, and they're just not making it up there to the bank where all of those 16 and 17 inchers are. If they do, they're in and out pretty quick.
Yeah, that makes sense. It's really easy to get comfortable. I mean, especially if you're coming from out of town and don't know the lake, and you hit the bank and you're catching fish.
Mm-hmm.
That's
fun.
kind of like a little comfort blanket, right? Like, I'm not
Don't
going to
leave
leave
fish to find fish.
I'm not leaving these fish to find fish. I'm catching them. I'm going to catch 20 eventually. So that's probably what I would have done. I'd have been up there catching 15s all weekend. But
It seemed like a majority of checks were cut people fishing shallow, catching largemouth. The smallmouth was definitely, it wasn't the easy thing to do, but I knew that whoever won, I mean, first, second, I think the third place have good smallmouth too, I believe. But yeah, they're on average longer. The largemouth in that lake are so stocky that it's hard to get 5 over 18 every day.
Adam Reiser's the only person I can think of that has won, and he's won multiple events on Del Hollow on largemouth. But that's usually that wintertime bite too, when it's a little harder to bump into that 19, 20-inch smallmouth in the wintertime.
In the wintertime, those largemouth will get in schools of 50 to even 200 heads. So and from what I've heard, he's got one place that every single year he says just gets absolutely full of them.
Yep. And he empties it out on tournament day every year. But that's the thing with fishing that largemouth bite, though. If there's that many fish shallow, I guess the logic behind it is just catch enough till you bump into a big one, and hopefully you get 5 of those over 18 in a day. So I don't think you can fault anybody for that mindset, but going just off the average length of adult smallmouth, it's kind of the safer bet on that one.
Mm-hmm.
Trying to win, if you're trying to win.
I went and looked. Jason Isaacs was in third, and he had a mixed bag. Smallies and largemouth. So there you go. Probably doing something similar to you, Seth.
Yeah, maybe. I didn't expect the first smallmouth that I caught in the event was one that was on a bed in like 6-7 feet of water back in a pocket, and I thought it was a largemouth. So when I set the hook on it and it almost jumped in the kayak, completely surprised me. I was
That's
like,
how
what? And the first thing it did was jump like a rainbow right next to me. I'm like, this is wild. So yeah, it was cool. And I haven't caught a smallmouth in like 10 years. So just in practice, I was catching a few and just kind of learning like what they look like underwater, how to fight them. And I don't use a net. And the reason for that is I always horse fish when I have a net. So on day 2, when I was smallmouth fishing, it was pretty interesting. There was times when I'm trying to land these fish. I'm like, man, it would be really nice to scoop this fish up instead of trying to lip these smallmouth, because I really couldn't like scoop them like they do in boats, like you can't just bear hug it and bring it up because you're in a kayak. So I'm like trying to time and just stick my finger in there perfect without hitting the little hook that's in there. So yeah, it was interesting. A lot of fun.
Did you lose any doing that?
No, I didn't lose a single fish landing it. I
No,
did have.
sure didn't.
Heck no, man. If I lose it, I'd never hear the end of it. But I did lose 2 fish. I lost a largemouth on day 2. It broke my line, so I was retying a bunch. So I don't know. I must have missed a fray there, and then I had a smallmouth just get off while I was reeling it in. But I didn't lose any landing. I was nervous though. Every single one, my heart, like the adrenaline. I was nervous, man. Those things are crazy.
Ewing, did you have any heartbreak stories?
I lost a largemouth that was probably like 20 to 21 inches long on day 1 on a glide bait. Day 2, my biggest heartbreak was when my 360 drive locked up at I think 7:15 in the morning.
What? Wait a minute. A 360 drive locked up?
What?
Get out of here.
I made it a clutch for almost a year. So with how much I use that kayak and it being a moving part, I'll take the risk. I still managed with my trolling motor. Thankfully, Jamie talked me into foot steering. He practically forced me to put foot steering on, but I wouldn't have been able to do anything without it. So I'm glad that was the
Shout
case.
out Koza for the W.
There we go.
But I ended up catching them. I was on day 2. I was actually this one place I would pedal up to it and just drift back with the wind. And when I would drift over them, they were holding really tight to the bottom. They'd pop their heads up because they hear the sonar or see my shadow. Not quite sure, but they'd come up off the bottom. When you would drift off of them, they would go back down towards the bottom. And when they met the bottom, if your bait got there, they would eat it almost every time.
Ewing playing whack-a-mole out there.
But
That's insane. I mean, that is an insane nuance, man. I mean, that to pick
He
up
had
on
a little
that.
pocket full of fish food. He'd sprinkle some
Yeah.
flakes on top and get them to raise their head up.
It makes sense though, because they're not seeing a bait fall on them. It's already there when they're getting to it, which I probably haven't seen other than natural presentations, like a natural whatever's down there. So
Dead bait fish chilling.
yeah, that's good.
if they're directly below you, the only way you can bring it away from them is straight up, and they see your boat before they eat it almost every time.
Yeah.
And see, that is that's a very good example of the scope is not automatic fish catching, right? But being able to look at it and pick up on things like that and adjust, like you were talking about, Ewing, that's where angler talent and angler intuition still comes in, right?
You could call it that.
Yeah. or luck. We can call it luck, whatever you want to do.
It can't be luck, or he wouldn't do it so many times.
Yeah. We got some good questions piling up, Ryan.
I know. I'm starring them up, pal.
Look at you, man.
I know. See, I'm like a glorified secretary.
I could have sat out tonight. You'd have been just fine.
I didn't want you to, Jeff, because I drove home to get here for this. So,
so let's go to one of these questions. Fishing with Gramps. Was he scanning beds with perspective mode? I'm assuming that's for Seth.
Gramps, I saw that question the other night on the podcast. Yeah, a little bit of both. Little secrets in there. Don't want to give out too much juice, but yeah, there's perspective mode was in play a little bit.
Are you running two transducers?
Yeah, a little bit of both. That's what that sounded like.
Yeah, that's what it sounds like.
No.
Three screens.
They get to the bottom of this.
You pull a come on. I wasn't running I have a PVC mount on my live scope. Like I'm homemade.
He's got a piece of paracord so he
Tell
can
the truth,
flip it back
man.
and forth on the fly.
Yeah.
Let's go. Tell the truth. Aqua view plus perspective mode. Is that the truth? Come on.
Just straight Garmin, man. Just Garmin, yeah. That's it.
Where'd Ewing go? He didn't want to answer this one, I guess.
Yeah, he's like, I'm
clogging out. I'm clogging out. I'm not talking about this anymore.
Ewing, perspective mode for you at all in play? You can hear
He's
us.
pretending like you can't hear us.
You can hear us.
All right, sorry. Someone tried to call me like 6 times.
Was it your dad? Because he's in the comments.
He's like, don't answer this question. Don't answer it. Don't answer it.
Did you do any perspective mode, Ewing?
I did not.
All right.
There you go. I assume that, the water depth you were describing that you were looking in, I figured that might limit the perspective mode use on that one.
Yeah, just a little bit.
Yep.
Another question that Ryan started up from Kayvon. Which foot steering, TPKF or something different? I just installed the new version that TPKF makes, and they were a little bit of a pain.
Gabe to quit calling me.
Do I need to read that again?
Gabe, quit calling him.
Yes.
All right. So basically, Kevin's asking which foot steering, TPKF or something different.
Probably TPKF.
Probably. Okay.
Ewing's like, I don't even know what that means. That's got to be what it is.
Ask Jamie Koza. We're just called Dugout.
All right.
I think it's the Tim Percy, but I could be wrong.
What was the pricing? Has tariffs affected that at all? Did you have to pay a tariff cost on it?
I got this boat rigged last year, so
you're clear.
no tariffs.
Okay. Pre-tariff.
Perfect.
There you
go. Anybody got any other questions? Throw them up in the comments. Ewing, tell us where you're at right now. We see you're in a humble establishment there.
I'm at Bugs Island or Kerr Lake, depends on where you're from, what you call it. It's a college Bassmaster event. We are in 47th right now, but only like 2 pounds out of the top 20. So not bad, not good. Think we learned some today. We'll see what happens.
Are you allowed to use scope?
Yes.
All right.
Is there
You'll be
anybody
fine.
that doesn't on the college series?
Maybe like 2.
Yeah, some dude in a bass tracker with a hand-controlled trolling motor.
The 56-year-old that went back to college. That's what he is.
Yeah, I still got some eligibility left. I'll show these whippersnappers.
Yeah, that's awesome. I want to shout out the X audience tonight, Ryan. We've got a big crowd over on X watching. You can't comment directly to StreamYard from X, but we see you over there. Appreciate y'all over on X/Twitter. So if you're watching over there, repost that and you're good to go. Christopher Boone, has he stated what he caught them on? And when you say he, which he are you talking about? Both of them have mentioned it.
They've both given their techniques.
Yeah, I can give him a bait too. I'm not sponsored or anything like that, but it was.
But you're about to be.
Yeah, I pay for it all. I don't have any sponsors, man. I wear Travel Country. They helped me out on my kayak in a previous year, and they're like a locally owned business in Florida. Been around about 50 years. They do kayaks and all kinds of outdoor stuff. So I like those folks. But I used another company that's kind of small as a Magnum Baits, relatively small. They have a color
Sounds
called.
small.
What's that?
Magnum sounds small.
Yeah, right. They have a color called Dark Horse Tackle, exclusive color, like the Dark Horse Tackle store. It's like a purple and a brown, like a PB&J color, and it was like a stick bait or a stick worm, Nico style with a little weight. And I ran through my weights quick on the smallmouth, and I wasn't gluing them in or anything. I was afraid that might have an effect on whatever was going well, so I'm like, I'm not gluing them in. I just ran through all of them, started just shoving like little nail weights in there, any weight that I had. But yeah, that was my bait for both days. That's all I used.
There you go.
And Ewing was on the scope and minnow.
Yep. I'll say 5-inch electric shad. Quarter ounce jig head.
There you go. And we see, I mean, Tom Kazmersky is known for beating up the smallmouth up there on old swim bait and round ball jig head. Been doing that for decades, I feel like. So it's not an uncommon winning bait to hear up on Del Hollow.
I'm over here looking at the Magnum Bait site. Some of the stuff looks good, man. I need to order that up.
I think he's out of Texas. That guy.
All right.
Yep.
I dig it. Let's check him out. So let me throw it on the screen there. There you go. The juice. He shared it. Magnum Baits. Is that the right company?
Yeah. Yep.
All right. There
It's
you go.
the Red Stick REGS. It's like a Senko alternative, but it has a great fall rate, just relatively close to a Senko. And it's more of it's highly salted. It was the Dark Horse Tackle color, which you have to get on Dark Horse Tackle's website. So they don't have it in here, but so one thing about a Senko that I've noticed, and I do a lot of fishing in Florida on a Senko, is that over time it gets a little flimsy after you catch a lot of fish or you use it a lot, and it doesn't have the same action on the fall. It doesn't have like the wiggle as it falls down. It's kind of like floppy and on a wacky rig, weightless. So these hold their action longer, and I caught a lot of fish on one worm. The factor that I had to change on the worm is that my weights weren't sticking in anymore. They kept getting ripped out every time the smallmouth would act crazy. So once there wasn't anything on the back end to shove a weight into, I had to switch to a different worm. But yeah,
I like that they sell them in a 25 pack.
Yeah.
That's good stuff.
Yeah.
Any more questions here?
We got a
couple. Who you want to go first? Kevon?
Kayvon, yeah. Ewing's in a big boat right now. Kayvon.
Yeah, it's
Maybe he's in his kayak. I don't know. I shouldn't judge. I would think so.
I'm in a boat. I just really don't. As far as continuing past college stuff, I don't really have the boat, or I probably could have the money for a boat if I saved more of it, but I don't. So.
Or if you fished more kayak tournaments and took more of our money.
Could try that.
What are you going to do when you grow up?
I'm working on that.
Undecided?
To be determined? Waiting on that OnlyFans to take off?
Yep.
Does college fishing have the transfer portal? Can you get some big checks out of that?
I wish.
NIL.
That'd be hilarious. Jumping from Carson Newman to Auburn, back and forth.
There we go. Let's see. Top Shelf asking another question. Were y'all caught in the drag races to your spots, or were your ramps fairly empty? Ewing just showed up after everybody left, I think.
Yeah, he was the only one.
Yeah, ramp was
Go
super
ahead.
busy, but everyone was gone by the time I was getting my boat in the water. So
Yeah, same here.
it's
Go ahead, Ewing. Sorry.
a fairly small lake with 233 kayaks. It didn't matter where you go. I don't think you were getting away from anyone.
How do you feel about the numbers? Bass has continued this 225 plus average for, ever since Steve-O took over, basically. Do you think there needs to be a cap at some point, or do you think it kind of works itself out to come out in that 200, 220 angler range? I mean, do you feel like some of these bodies of water are too small for that, that many anglers overall, not just for your one spot that you find out in the middle of nowhere, but overall for the tournaments?
I'd say just let it go until it causes an issue. No reason to fix something that's not a problem.
Mo money, mo problems.
There you go. I don't think the only lake that we've run into on any of the big series that was sort of a problem with a lot of anglers was Broken Bow with the limited ramps. And even that worked itself out, right?
Yeah.
So,
I think the river tournaments, like when you have that many people on a river, it not necessarily finding a launch or whatever, but if you've got, 60 people floating one section of river, I think that hurts the overall experience on the fishing side. Those are the only ones I think, maybe do something creative on kind of limiting those, like Susky, Seth, for instance.
Yeah.
Like it's a madhouse up there with 200 something anglers on that river at one time.
I grew up just wading across that thing every summer, just walking across there with my buddies, and we would just sit out there.
A lot of the guys that do well up there consistently, especially like Jody Queens and stuff that have fished it forever, they fish it side to side instead of doing a float or something, which is probably a lot smarter than the rest of us.
Yeah.
What do you have on the schedule for the rest of your season, Seth? Are you going to venture out anymore on the trail?
Yeah, so I fished the Kissimmee one down here, and I took some risks in that one, and I had like 3 8-pounders in this one cove away from everything else, and I went to those, and another guy caught one, I missed one, and then I caught the third, and it messed up my whole plan. So I did that one, and then I also got a DQ on a fish because I caught it twice, and I measured it and didn't add another fish on day 2. So that was just a mess. Actually, this event I caught a smallmouth twice as well. And luckily, it was a 19.5, and it would have made my board on day 2, but it had like this chunk missing out of its back. And when I caught it and put it on the board, it had a chunk missing out of its back on day 2. I'm like, did I just catch the same smallmouth? So I pulled up my pictures from day 1 and like compared, and I'm like, yes, it's the exact same one. So I tossed it. Luckily, I found it ahead of time, because I would have thought I won had I had it in my bag, and then I would have had a fish DQ'd. So that would have been much worse than just go ahead and getting second right off the bat. But yeah, I think I might go to Texas. My wife's from Texas, so I might run that Texas one later in the fall. We have both state championships here in Florida, so I'll hit those. Yeah, I mean it's a little tricky going far with the kids, 3 kids, so I have to kind of limit myself to 3 or 4 throughout the year.
Yeah, you got to leave the windows cracked in the summer too.
Yeah, right. Yeah. So
I'll be back, girls. Here's a sandwich.
Yeah, no, they're cool. My wife supports me. She's making stories while I'm fishing, and she's following along. She's probably more stressed out during the events while I'm fishing than I am. She's pretty funny with it. But yeah, we'll do the state championships here in Florida. It's cool that I've already qualified for the classic for next, or the championship for next year. I qualified for the one this year as well, but I just couldn't go. We had some other things going on, so I wasn't able to make it this year. But I'd like to make one of those and be like Ewing and kind of walk across the stage at some point in my life. So it's kind of the plan, at least for this year.
What about you, Evan? What do you got? You going to jump back in the plastic any, or?
Yeah, I'll be jumping in it. A lot of Tennessee Bass Nation stuff. Probably try to go to Champlain if that fits into the schedule. That was really fun the last time. Yeah, I don't know. Just whatever fits in the schedule that looks fun.
Just Skip the Texas one though. You don't. That's far for you, man. You don't need to go down there.
It's not too bad.
Yeah.
I might be able to make it.
Yeah.
Seth, you need to get you a little travel kit for fish like that. Just get some putty, an extra tail, some scissors, and a Sharpie, and you can solve all those problems.
He said he's going to Texas, not from Texas.
Oh
Yeah.
You got to take your own tail to Texas.
Yeah. Shout out to Texas. We love y'all.
My wife's from Texas.
There you go.
Yep.
Oh, no.
We have anything else coming up in the questions, Jeff? I don't see anything.
I don't see anything. We don't want to keep these guys too long. I know. It's been a long weekend of fishing. We just appreciate you coming on here and sharing your stories with us, man. I mean, unbelievable finishes for both of you. Congrats to both of you.
Huge audience tonight.
Yeah, big audience tonight, and it's just a pleasure of ours to interview you guys and hear your stories. So we appreciate you giving up the juice.
You and go call up and get in the top 20 at least. All right, please.
I'll try. I'll do my
You can
best.
do it, brother.
Yeah, and all the y'all that are watching tonight, get over to SoFlo Taylor on YouTube and subscribe to his channel. We appreciate him sharing that over there as well.
Appreciate it.
All right, Ryan. Next week, All American folks.
Yep, let's do it.
All right.
We'll see y'all next week.
Yep.